You, I'll just scrap the first part of the recording no kay medyo taas kaayo ang kanang murag blanco blanco no. So we will proceed with the history of tour guiding. So what you see here on your screen are actual tour guides no, and all of them are accredited in the OT, of course no, and there are even competitions nga who recognize their potentials and even more recognize pud sa ilahang mga contributions to tourism. So our objective for this morning is to define the term tour guide. We already did that last week, no? And also create awareness between different kinds of classifications, duties of tour guides, and the history of tour guiding. So as you can see in this conceptual framework, no? So the government is actually they mo siya ingon nga in charge siya sa tour operator. Of course, tour operators or tourism agencies or travel agencies are part of the private sector. No? So privately owned. But they would still need to coordinate or adhere sa policies and guidelines set by DOT and their LGUs. Okay, of course, no, para maka fully function dun sila as a legit jud nga travel agency, they will need to be accredited by DOT. So the tour operator is in charge with coordinating with the travel agency, no, the transportations, accommodation, and food and beverage and attractions because sila man ang mo-organize, no, mo organize sila aning tanang tourism services into a package, and they would ko ano yung sell or provide this to the travel agency no as a package na, and the travel agency of course serves as a mediator no, between the tour operator and the tourist. So mo na siya tanan ang mo-organize mangita og mga transportation services, siya mo book no, siya um mo call pud sa accommodation sa hotels or F&B, magpa-block siya og function hall, magpa-block siya og pila ka rooms. And then of course, siya pud mangita og mga possible attractions nga introduce sa tourist. Before man good no mo pay si tourist sa iyang package, mo agtop siya sa travel agency or just go to their website and talk to the representative. And then sila na introduce nga, ma'am, these are the following attractions that you can visit in San Carlos City. So, depende na sa imuha, ma'am, kung ginahan ba kasuruyan tanan or kanirang pila ka buok so that we can arrange an itinerary and a package for you. No, pwede maning ana. Or kung ginahan ka, ma'am, kanina lang mga na kuan na nahimo na nga mga packages niya, pili na lang ka diri. So, things like that. So, why tourism matters? It's because tourism contributes at least 9% of GDP, no? And out of 11 jobs, at least 1% of that are from the tourism industry. So naka-contribute po si tourism industry og at least 1.3 trillion US dollars in exports. That's 6% of world exports and 6% exports of least developed countries. No, other than the US, no, because mga least developed countries such as like us in the Philippines, no, third world countries nga we're in, we are still struggling to become financially independent as a country, no, because nakakitag utang, no, we rely on other countries to help us. But dako na ang 6%, no, if you could imagine, no, dako na ang 6% in exports. No, that's because of tourism. So travel and tourism grow at least 4% per year. Ang pinaka-lowest point ato sa tourism is karon because there's a pandemic, no. Same ra po na natabo sa katong before the Renaissance era, no, nga ning decline ang travel because of war. Karon it's because of the pandemic, no, because of the virus. So travel and tourism will continue to expand faster than the economy as a whole and faster than comparable industries. So because of globalization, as what I've mentioned, no, we are open to other countries. And because of globalization, no, we are open to share our culture to other countries. We are open. ASEAN gan is doing that, no, nga allow sila nga wala say mga wala yung mga visa and also that we can freely go to other countries without any visas. So because of that, people travel a lot, and we solely rely na, no, not solely, but we heavily rely on tourism, no, for our economic growth, no, and we enjoy traveling not only nga we get to experience a lot of cultures, we get to see a lot of countries or a lot of places, but we get to contribute to the economy no of that certain place by spending. And then sila pod makakonvert siya no, jobs, many jobs will be generated or be provided. At the same time, there will be a lot of opportunities for small businesses, no, and also maka maka-income rin sila, no. So by 2018, travel and tourism is expected to account for at least $10.9 trillion. So at least, so dugay naman ano. So by karon nga 2020, hopefully 2021. Oh, for a while lang Ildrik. Tago to si mama. For a while lang ha. Okay, so maka-generate si tourism og at least 296.3 million employees, no, because of travel. So growth depends on enlightened government policy. Dili man tanan class ma-ensured ang growth no sa atong economic health or sa atong economy, sorry, sa atong economy. Depende man gud na pod sa government policy or even sa LGUs or even sa national government. If a country does not fully support tourism, and there will never be growth, no. Although kung nasa the other means to earn no as a country, dili ba sila mo rely on tourism and because siguro mo rely sila on exports, pero still no depende ra jud na class, dili man tanan no nga maka-benefit sa tourism because there are other countries that are not really open to supporting tourism. So again, growth depends on enlightened government policy. If a government is enlightened that tourism really helps in the economic growth, then it will surely grow. If not, if they're not open to tourism because they feel nga there is nothing to share or wala sila kakitag advantage sa tourism, and then muna siya dili mo grow ang usa ka lugar. Next, let's now proceed to the brief history of tourism and travel. So the first travel writer was Herodotus. When we talk about koan class, um travel writer, mo travel siya from one place to another, not just to be immersed in the countryside. No, kay they do not have the luxury actually to go a very long way. No, kay wala pa man na sa una ang kanang mga trains or vehicles or airplane. Lahat to either walk sila on foot or donkey baro no sa Greece, or mag by horse ba sila, no. So very minimal ra kaayo ang ang travel sa una sa tao. So usually from the busy nga towns magto siya sa countryside, no, kanto sa nature. So gamay ra siya kay iyang malaktan, but then mo na lang ginahimo because others no nga who are not really that comfortable in walking or traveling, no, they would depend on travel writers no to tell them stories of their travels. So si Herodotus no mag kunog journal nga kita siya mga ani nga animals, or pag-abot niya dito mo ni ang kanang mga tao nga ihang na meet no, mo ni mga places nga nakit-an, and then he then went to write that down. No? Everything nga iyang makita niya ng isulat class. Pagkahuman, i-publish pa na siya ron, no? Ipabasa sa mga koan, sa mga tao, and then, ang uban, makakan sila nga, wow, mo din iyang nakita nito sa countryside, no? And then, mo draw ganin ang uban, mag-illustrate gani sila, no? Kay para at least, itong mga readers, makabalo sila nga, mo niya nakitaan nga flower, or mo niya nakitaan nga animals dito, or lugar, no? So, magmura na ang ilahang kalingawan sa una. So, people would travel because they would like to explore, they would like to write what they saw, and they would like to share it to other people. Next is the ancient empire. So the era of the great empire from 3000 BC to the 500 AD generated travel. The ancient Persians, Assyrians, and Egyptians traveled in an organized manner. During the era of the Greek Empire, tourism flourished. Festivals, shows among them the Olympic Games, which began in the 776 BC. So, one of the civilized or pinakadako jud kay nga civilization sa una were the Persians, Assyrians, and the Egyptians. And usually as their way of, for a while lang class ha. Okay, sorry na sidetrack ko class na ako telephone call. Okay, so sorry jud ka. Karon jud sa tour guiding jud no. Dila jud sila tanan ko. So, let's continue. No? So, before, no, the great civilizations like in Persia, no, Assyrians and Egyptians, ang ilang way of at least getting to know other countries, no, countries, other civilizations kay to of course no have festivals, no, invite other leaders, and then mo na siya, no, they traveled in an very organized manner because they don't just travel ng maski asa sila mo agto, no, they actually have a map, no, and a plan, no, asa sila mo agto, no, mag-trade ba abi sila, no. So during the era of the Greek Empire, tourism flourished. It is because of the Olympics. Olympics is like a sports event. No? Pinakauna dyan nila nga purpose why they travel is because of sports. No? Yeah. The Olympics is marag a ano of strength, no, marag a competition of strength, no. So men would often no travel from other small towns, no, from Greece magto sila sa katudjong dako jud kaayo nila nga sentro, no, or lang mag capital nila, and then wala mag exhibition sila or mag compete sila when it comes to strength. Okay. Next, the Middle Ages. So the period between the fall of Rome and the Renaissance is known as the Middle Ages. Approximately between 500 AD and 1508 AD, it is also known as the Ages. The fall of Rome led to the decline of trade and the economy in general, and the decrease in the desire to travel. So of course, class, no, kato kong gimensioning decline kay sa una sige na sila travel to barter, no, ang uban gani mo travel because of pilgrimage, no, because of their religion, and often people would travel, ang pinaka common sa una class is sports like Olympics, aban mo travel pod sila to barter, no, kalabanan mga businessman, di man na para sa una class nga moagto sila dito sa town, no, malit sila ang uban nga businessman tado nila ilahang mga baligya dayon ilaha pong isal sa nearby nga town, labi na naa sa mga farms, no, kalabanan na sa mga farms class kay they would bring their livestock agto sila sa town, baligyan nila ang mga livestock or crops nila to earn money. So mo na siya ang purpose nila to travel. Napuyuban nga mga naa sa medyo naarang-arang nga pamilya ng mga dato, they would travel because ginahan rid sila mulantaw sa ubang mga towns, mga dagko nga cities, and no, to enjoy themselves, to entertain, or to attend a party. But because of the war, no, kaya abot sa point class nga magsige na sila conquer, no, conquer sila mga na si Rome, no, kusog kay na siya kon, pero actually the fall of Rome started when Julius Caesar died, no, and then he was actually a very good leader, although no, they fear dictatorship namang good, so mo nang ilang gi-assassinate si Julius Caesar. So natabo ato class, no, because of the fall of Rome, because of war, no, civilizations conquering other civilizations. So natabo ito class nga the economy failed, no, or ning decline. Ang natabo pud ato since the economy declined, daghan ang napobre, daghang nagutom, daghang nag-resort into stealing. So kung nagani mo agi kay mo travel siya, like for example mga businessman kay mo travel sila, mo baligya, mahadlok na sila mo travel kay kada travel nila sugata daygday kawatan sa dalan, either patyon sila, kawatan sila, or kuha nilang mga belongings. So because of the danger in traveling, no, kay ning decline ng economy, daghang na pobre, ang mga pobre ning decide sila nga mangawat lang, ang mga businessmen or kanang sa tawag na nila mga traders, no, nga ginahan mo travel from the neighboring town to the other para mo baligya silang gamit, dili na sa ganahan mo travel because mahadlok sila nga kawatan, mo na less na lang ang mo travel, no, dili na kaayo popular ang travel during the Middle Ages, no, so before the Renaissance era. And then mo na siya class, ang mo travel ra is kana rang for pilgrimage, no, kanang ginahan sila mo preach or mo kuan for religion, travel for religion. So mo ra na. Okay, let's proceed to the Renaissance and the Grand Tour. So the Renaissance is actually the rebirth, no, after the war, after the Dark Ages. So it was during this period that young men of the upper class traveled from Britain on a grand tour, a prescribed route from England through France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland to Italy, which was the destination. So what is this grand tour? So kakuan naman mo ani, no, ang uban akong estudyante nakabalo na ani. So if young men before, especially from well-off families, no, kanang mga dato kaayo, they would like to be part of the court of the queen. Pero ni anak man to si Queen Elizabethan era man to, no. Ano to si Queen Elizabeth nga. Dili si Queen Elizabeth the second ha nga queen sa UK karon, no. The other Elizabeth, no. So Queen Elizabeth decided nga for you to be part of my court, you have to study, no. So gaano man dito sa eskwela man siya ng mga lalaki, no. Men were required to have an education, no. Ang mga babae ato is pagwapa ra, if nalata mong Bridgerton o more dito ang ilahang purpose in life nga giraise sila for marriage and that's it. But men before are prescribed are conscious sila, no, required to study, no, study languages, culture, arithmetic or unsa pa na siya, no. No, everything that they need to know in order to run a household, a business, or even be in politics. So, or for example, have a profession like a doctor or unsa pa na. No? So, at the end of their education, the thing that will culminate their education, marag ka ng, kuan nila ba, kung sa to pa mo, culminate sa inyong pagskwila sa college is your OJT and your graduation. Ang mo culminate sa ilahang education is traveling all over Europe. So, places like England, France, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland to Italy. So, ano kinahanglan na mag-grand tour because Queen Elizabeth thought nga if kuan ma-immerse ni sila kaning mga tawhanan no nga will be part of my court, if ma-immerse sila sa lain-lain nga culture, no, kay England, France, these countries have different cultures, no, lain-lain sila og kanang form of government, no, and he would like, no, those who would be included in his court pohon once mahuman na ang grand tour nga to be enlightened and to know what are the forms of government sa uban nga countries, what unsa ilang mga good practices dito, unsa ilang culture para ma-apply po nila once they will serve the court of Queen Elizabeth, no. So to better serve the queen mo na ang ilang gibuhat, no, to be immerse themselves in different cultures, no, in different countries, no, to meet different people, no, to make alliances, to make connections. So that's it, no, mo na siya ang sa grand tour. Okay, the modern age. So the three well-known European writers who visited the New World in the 19th century were Charles Dickens, Francis Trollope, and Alexis de Tocqueville. So they were actually very fortunate, no, to travel because naman sila kwarta, no, and because of that they're really good writers or people in their field of expertise, no. Kay appeal ba na class ang cultural enlightenment or cultural awareness nga mo add pod sa imuhang knowledge as a person. Okay, let's now proceed to the first ever travel agent, no. So katong sa transportation agency kabulo ka agency transportation management ilan na dyan ba ni Thomas Cook, no, sa pag first year ninyo. So he founded the Thomas and Cook Son, ang pinaka first nga travel agency. So siya jud ang nag launch, no, sa mga excursions, no, sa itineraries, no, kay for him mas nice man daw kuno if organize ang tour rather than just going to a place where wala ka kabalo asa ka mo agto and then wala ka kabalo kung kano sa ka mo stay. Para niya mas maayo jud if naa jay schedule, no, and the tourist will just ride at least one vehicle na naman ni ang trains ani nga time. So through train na sila nag-travel. Pero at least dili daw kuno katag, no. So we should thank, no, Thomas Cook because of him, no. Travel or organized travel was made possible. So Thomas Cook, born on November 22, 1808 and died on July 18, 1892 of Melbourne, Derbyshire, England, founded the travel agency Thomas Cook and Son, popularly nicknamed Cook's Tours, that became Thomas Cook AG before eventually becoming Thomas Cook Group in 2007. So siya nagsugod sa travel agency. It all started with trains lang, no, and then he would take tourists to excursions, so to nearby towns and cities within England. So within UK, sorry. So masakay abi sila diri sa train and then kuan na ni 50 shillings lang ni siya. Mahal ba lang 50 shillings? So, example ra no. So 10 to 15 shillings abi ang iyahang i-require no to pay for the excursion. Dili pa to siya actual jud nga tour nga wherein they would stay overnight no. Ning ano siya, ni improve siya from time to time. No? It all started with just an excursion. No, you would take these tourists to nearby towns and cities, no? And then pagkahuman, mubalik sila inig kahapon. So mag sightseeing ra, no? Kumadugayan, expand na ang iyahang agency and excursions, no? Ang iyang excursions all throughout UK. And then all throughout Europe. Dayon, ning suon na pod ang US, na napod sila yung kagalingon pod nga travel agency. So, usugod na sa England tanan. Brief history. So, in 1850s, he offered the Grand Circular Tours of Europe. In 1866, he introduced the hotel coupon. And from 1847 to 1922, Thomas Cook and Sons published tourist handbooks for the different countries of Europe. So, what are hotel coupons? These are like katong circular notes, no? Nga wherein, mubayad ka big pila ka shillings ani no. Mara pod siya og kanang modern po na to nga package ba nga. Mobile abis lang 50 shillings for an excursion all throughout UK abi, no? UK, and then na ay certain hotel no nga you have a coupon, so imo lang i-present, you'll be given like free drinks or food or even an accommodation. So mara po siya ka package na daan ni kon nga part sa 50 shillings apil na imong accommodation og food. So something like that. He also introduced circular notes. Circular notes are like masyag tour checks no nga. For example, magto ka sa usa ka lugar, wala kay currency ani nila no, wala kay like for example lahi ang currency ani nga lugar kung asa kaning gikan, ang ilang currency dito is lahi pod nya di man nimo ma-convert imong money sa ilang money, so mogamit ka og circular notes, masyag universal money nila ato when you travel. And imo siyang ipakita sa hotel as your form of payment. Ang hotel will receive your circular notes and nila na ipabaylo sa bangko. Kay sa unang mo dawat ra man ang bangko og circular notes no ibaylo ra man na nila. Masyag universal money. Mara pod siya og tourist check. So kaning tourist handbooks, so mara na siya green book class no. Unsa man na ang tourist handbook? So before, wala man na yung mga websites no or computer nga maglantaw lang ta anang sa ihang website unsay mga nindot nga attractions ani nga lugar o magtukog San Carlos City, unsa kay mga attractions and restaurants and hotels that can be found in San Carlos City. Wala pa na sa una. So everything has to be listed in a tourist handbook, all from asa ka mukaon, asa siya located no yung address, and then wala pa ni telephone sa una no. So next is asa ka musakay no if you would like to travel to another place, so yung mo take ka og ferry no or train, and then asa ka ginahan mo stay no yung mga list of hotels asa sila located no and list of attractions and asa pud sila located no. So mo na siya, this is an example of a tourist handbook. So at the cover of the tourist handbook, so sa sulod is kana mga places, attractions, accommodations, no, everything you need to know about a certain destination, and in the front no ang iyahang tour package. So, like for example, no, for £70, no, a 3 weeks voyage to Luxor and Aswan. Those are two places. O kung na kag 2 weeks o £56 imuhang mabayad. No, kung 1 week ra, pero dili sa Luxor, sa Ambos Simbahan Halfa o £30. So, well, fix na siya, 'di ba? Pero, marsyag ka ng kuan, no? Tripper siya, wala dala kaon. Okay, so we will continue lang with tour operator. Pasensya kayo if very short ra ako ang discussion ron no, na ako'y concern manggod karong hapon. That is why medyo putol-putol akong klase. So, we will continue next meeting on tour operator, tour guide, and tourist guide. Wala naman mo na siya. And different associations. Naayo tayo International Tourist Guide Day, no? Sa Philippines, lahi po dato ang Tourist Guide Day. Okay, tour conducting versus tour guiding. Wala naman kinds of tour guide. You know naman this one, qualities. Okay, Philippine tour guides. It's important to know them one by one. Of course, these are one of the daghan matag tour guides sa Philippines class, but these are some of the famous ones. No, accredited sa DOT, ginaano na ni sila, no? Recognized and also awarded, no, because of their exemplary nga contributions to tourism. So more na to i-discuss last time. Hopefully dili na ta dili ako ma-distracted sa ubang butang na para makaditso-ditso na ta. So I would like to apologize for the very short discussion. That is the history of tour and travel, ha. Next meeting, we will define what is a tour operator, difference between a tour guide and a tourist guide. Kalian nilang duha. Then so on and so forth, no. Yan yung makita dira. Okay. Any questions? Mga pangutana?
Nanda.
Okay, by the way, wala pa tayo schedule for prelim dayon, no. Manog third week na ta next week.